Alright, so here I am testing Xplane 11 Beta 2. This is the IXEG 737 Classic, and I have Environment X or Xenviro working right now. It was raining, but the rain has stopped, and my location is in San Francisco, KSFO. But what I'm doing here is I'm experimenting with different settings to see what kind of performance I can get as far as frame rates go. I was able to get fraps to load up and actually show a frame rate counter down here in the corner, which is larger than the default Xplane frame rate counter, which shows up a little tiny text up here. So hopefully that'll be informative. I was actually pleasantly surprised to see I have the VSync set on, and my monitor operates at 30 Hz right now. So I was pleasantly surprised to see this pretty much well walked exactly around 30 Hz. So let's go into some of the other settings that I'm experimenting with. Let's bring up Process Explorer first here. In Process Explorer, you can go down to the Xplane EXE, right click, and go into Set Affinity. And from here you can set the affinity of what CPU you want Xplane to use. I changed this. Basically, I used several different sets here, but ultimately the best performing set came up where I just freed up the main core and the hyperthread core. Of course, it's a bit of an assumption to assume that this is the main core and that's its hyperthread core, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works with the Intel and Windows 10 architecture. So basically I leave CPU 01 unchecked and then check the rest of my CPUs. I'm currently running with hyperthreading on, and I'm running at about 4.6 gigahertz. And if you want to take a quick look here, at the CPU chart, it should show, yep, there we go. So this is core 0 and 1. As you can see, I have them unchecked, so they're not doing a heck of a lot right now. This might actually be some basic processing from the actual recording. I'm using NVIDIA's Shadowplay to record. But as you can see, the rest of the cores here are all active. And like I said, I experimented with several different cores, several different affinities, and settled on basically this one here, because it seemed to work the best, least amount of long frames, and the frame rate was consistent. Alrighty, as you can see again, the RAM usage is around 12 gigs, which is kind of interesting. It never seems to really move much from 12 gigs. VRAM usage is about 3.3 gigs. But once again, my GPU is pegged at 100. I'm gonna possibly suggest that may not be accurate, but I don't really know. Again, Xplane 11 is an OpenGL program. And I couldn't really load any other tool I have that would tell me GPU usage. Well, actually, I take that back. There is one tool that showed GPU usage for desktop. That was the EVGA Precision X, or OSC. And I'll actually bring that up right now, because I am, I believe it's running. It was running. Maybe, oh, there it is. Alright, so this is Precision X OC. This is the version that's for the Titan X Pascal. I should add, since my last video, I have upgraded to a Titan X Pascal, and I sold my two Titan X's. based on NVIDIA's lack of support for SLI. I pretty much abandoned SLI. You know, maybe NVIDIA will get their game together on SLI, but from what I understand it, they're moving away from it. And DX12 leverages multi-GPUs, but leaves it in the hands of the actual application developer or sim game developer to make use of those GPUs, which kind of frees NVIDIA out of having to constantly update drivers for SLI profiles. For better or worse, that seems to be the way it is. I know some people are disappointed with that, but it kind of makes sense. Multi-GPU support is best done with, on the actual developer's platform, rather than having NVIDIA do it via drivers. The driver route is really kind of a sledgehammer process to getting multi-GPU support. And since NVIDIA have to so frequently work with the application in question to get SLI support, I can see why they want to move away from that, because it's obviously using a lot of their resources and time. So with that said, this EVGA Precision X, it does have the ability to display what they call OSD, which is on-screen display. Unfortunately, they did say that does not work with OpenGL, so this cannot display usage or frame rate. But I did find a little workaround that it kind of sort of displays usage. If I go here and bring up GPU usage, I've got it set to show GPU. If I do show in SysTray, it actually does show up, which is kind of handy. And what I mean is, you click on this showing tray icon. If you notice down here, for you non-4K users, this may be really hard to see, but it does show GPU usage, and it's showing 39%. So clearly, there's a difference between what the process manager here is showing. It's showing GPU usage at 100%, and EVGA Precision X is showing it at around 37%. So quite a difference in information. So I'm gonna stick with the EVGA number of 39%. I think that's probably more accurate, because I can't believe my GPU would be at 100%, especially since I have VSync enabled and it is locking at 30. So that should leave some headroom in GPU usage. So for now I'm gonna say this number is not accurate for any OpenGL programs. However, VAS usage and VRAM usage, I would say probably is accurate. Alright, enough of that. I'll close that down. And I do have my Titan X Pascal overclocked. I was just testing it out. I set the power target here. GPU temp is not that bad. I did a very mild overclock, a plus 196 and then a plus 216. My GPU is currently not water cooled. My old Titans were. This one is not. And I'm not 100% sure I'm going to water cool this GPU. I may just leave it as is. I didn't really see much of a benefit to overclocking the GPU, so I don't really see any reason to get a water block for it to make it to allow me to overclock it even more. So for now, just leave it with air cooled on the GPU and a mild overclock. Alright, so got that out of the way. Let's take a look at some additional things. Here we go. This is my overclocking profile here. As you can see, I'm running about 4.6 gigahertz. CPU core voltage is 1.52. Now, before everybody freaks out at that voltage, I've been running this voltage ever since I've had this CPU. It's had no problem running at this voltage, and that's probably been almost 24 months since I've been operating at this voltage without a single hiccup. So I know there's a lot of myths out there that say, oh, my CPU is going to die, it's going to melt, it's going to blow up, but the reality is 1.5 is fairly safe. I actually know an Intel engineer that works, or used to work for Intel, and worked on the memory controller of their current CPUs, and he said they had no problem running their CPUs at 1.6 or higher, even on just basic water cooling. They even did some experiments with some Pelter setups. They had the CPU core up around 175, I think it was. They have, of course, melted a few chips, but 1.5, in my opinion, is safe so long as you've got adequate water cooling. And as you can see, I do have adequate water cooling. There's the temperatures. Here we go. My CPU is 93. Of course, I'm not really flying right now. It's just kind of sitting there in the background. But VRAM is 93 PCH. These numbers, they get a little bit warmer as I fly, but it's not a huge difference. I can bring them up later in the show. But that's it for my overclocking. Like I said, this is very stable for me. No issues. Now let's get back into the actual Xplane here. I'm going to go back to full screen mode. Full screen. Okay. Alright, so we're back at full screen, and if you notice, I'm still locked at 30 Hertz here, which is good. So what that tells me is under settings here, it's showing resolution 3840 by 2160, 4K, and it's showing 60 Hertz. Obviously this is not accurate. I am operating, I've got to use VSync here, so I am operating at 30 Hertz. I actually didn't notice if this makes much of a difference. I prefer using VSync because there's less tearing. If I turn it off here and return, as you can see, the frame rate goes up a little bit, not much, so I'm kind of around my optimal settings, I guess. Yeah, you can see the frame rate jump up there. Go around, goes up, down, depending on what the scene is like. Like I said, I don't. I want to lock to 30. It's my preferred operating. So I'm going to go ahead and turn use VSync back on. And there we go, locked at 30 again. Do I rotate? I'll bring it back into the video here. So I am running EnviroX right now, and plugins, EnviroX, settings. These are the settings I'm using for EnviroX. I didn't like the brake action. It caused some weird things in certain aircraft, so I left that off. Wind shear, thunderstorms, weather update. I like every 15 minutes. I don't like the weather updating too frequently. These are pretty much all default. The things that I changed, I enabled everything here except for 2D raindrops. 2D, I don't really understand why they call this 2D raindrops, but if I select this option, I'll lose about 2-3 frames per second, so I leave the option unchecked. These I like to keep these because they do look nice. You kind of see the lights glowing in the cloud, you know, like you have up here. You have the lights at the bottom of the cloud reflecting those lights. Post-processing, I'm not entirely sure what this does, to be honest. It does seem to cause a gray overcast if you're in the VC. Let's go ahead and get into the VC here and bring up environment X settings, or X enviro. One of these days I'll get it right. And go ahead and hit post-processing and then close it. Oh, okay. Well, it didn't actually seem to do anything to the VC here, but as you can see, my frame rate has dropped a bit. So let's go ahead and turn that off and uncheck post-processing, and let's go back to the